Ho ho ho! And welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Claus.
I'm Mikey, the stands for Elf.
The Grinch in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy, most pasta, and most seasonal, kind of, in our own traditional Al Dente Rigamortis way. For SCP-Cember, we are covering SCP-2030. Laugh is fun.
Just questionably festive. It's really not.
I mean, you say that. I mean, it's jovial. Like this time of year is like it's supposed to be a time of jovialness to try and combat the darkness of the ever cold.
Okay, all right.
And the terrible
stretch, but
yeah.
I'll let it go. I'll allow it.
But yeah, so we're covering SCP-2030, otherwise known as Laugh is Fun. It's by PeppersGhost on the SCP Foundation website, otherwise known as scp-wiki.com.
I laugh every time.
I love it. It's so good.
It's got an unnecessary amount of dots in it.
Yeah. Well, like one of those dots is like spelled out dot, like it's
yes.
Wiki, it's like WIKIDOT, and then there's a period, and then COM.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so good. But yeah, so before we dive too far into this SCP entry, let's give our initial recommendations. I'm gonna partially recommend this one. Although it kind of borders like a conditional recommendation, really. But
I am not going to recommend this one.
I'll recommend it, I guess.
Were you gonna give it like a recommendation? It's like maybe I'll just put it down to a partial.
To be honest, I forgot to like put my final thoughts together on this, but wow. I didn't mind it. It was fine.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in and find out why we gave those recommendations, and see if it changes or fluctuates as we go into our conversation. But let's start with the rundown. So, SCP-2030 is a prank show that's been running for at least 38 seasons, though the various through the various physical formats of video. The show is called Laugh is Fun, and the various pranks performed are generally horrific and absurdist body horror, with the victims being traumatized and or harmed in the process of filming the show. However, a show host known as SCP-2030-1, or Laffy McLafferson, will appear on set, his face never in view of the camera, and immediately render the victims calm and even jovial with his presence. After which, the episode...
that's not gifts, right?
What?
With his presence, they're not gifts.
No,
right?
like with his.
This is a festive episode, after all.
You're not wrong, but no, I meant with his appearance.
Yes,
you grammar Nazi. But yeah, after which the episode will come to a close. The show's victims are individuals who either died or went missing the year of the episode's airing, though the deaths aren't from the actions on the show according to records. They're usually like just something else entirely. The Foundation is ever vigilant in retrieving physical copies of the show while tracking and removing the show from online posting and streaming platforms. They are also still trying to hunt down the supposed studio location and source from which these episodes originate. The document, or the SCP entry, has various episode descriptions and a story of a first-person perspective of one of these prankings at a funeral involving rupturing spleens. Finn! So yeah, that's SCP-2030 in a nutshell. So, I suppose we should move on to everyone tolerates the grammar inquisitions at this point. Guys, do you guys got some? Mikey?
I have, for the main one, a conjunction junction.
Okay. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
And that's what we're about here. Comedy. And remember, laugh is fun. And laugh. And laugh. Finn.
Love it. Love to see it.
It's not really much to pull from this
Yeah.
one. Eh?
Also, technically it's the way Laffy McLafferson talks.
Yeah, all of that. So normally,
But-
when you grab sentences throughout the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use, that's acceptable. But this is like all dialogue from a dude that's
Not
a
may not even
questionable
human.
creature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably not even like a mortal being.
No.
He's
No.
trying to be human.
Mhm.
But all right. Gamer, do we have a grammar in yellow? Sorry, Grinch, do we have a grammar in yellow?
Yeah, I guess. This is in one of the what are they called?
The addendums or the
Yes, one of them dems. It extends its tongue into the woman's mouth, and Thatcher faces of various sizes begin appearing across Carter's skin. So when I read that, the first few times I read it, I stumbled over the second half of that repeatedly.
Yeah.
Because like I read it like assuming that Thatcher, the creature, was in the act of turning to face something else.
I see,
Into the open mouth, and Thatcher faces like I imagine that as an action, not of faces appearing. But the way I rewrote it is extends the tongue into the woman's open mouth. Across Carter's skin, various sizes of Thatcher's face begin growing out of it.
Yeah, that would work for like to proper clarify that.
Yeah.
Because I also remember, I don't know if I hiccuped over that specifically, but like I remember like hiccuping over that sentence for some reason when I was reading it, and then like I caught myself. So
Yeah, especially because in the previous sentence it refers to the creature as Thatcher.
Yeah.
So it's like Thatcher did this, and then Thatcher faces of various sizes. What?
Yeah. And I should also would just point out, like, this is for the season 21, 1997, with the episode theme Margaret Thatcher. Just for anybody who's like perusing the SCP and wants to look for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the only grammar thing I found.
Okay. Well, then I suppose we move on to actual thoughts. I'm going to start with the images that are presented in the entry. So the first one is it looks like an old school like Netflix like description or some kind of like streaming platform description like thing for like a show episode or like a TV show or a movie kind of thing.
I guess that is a picture.
Yeah.
When you said pictures, I'm like, there's only one.
That
That
like,
one's
no,
just
it is
text
no,
up there.
it is a comped document technically.
Yeah.
And I do really like it because it's like, yeah, Laugh is Love, 1976 to 2014, and then like gives you like a PG rating, which is is very deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you like all the information, like 38 seasons. I guess it's 2014 because like that's when this was taken down, or like this was retrieved by the SCP because like,
or at least just
be...
when that snapshot was taken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and again, it's a very nicely done comp of like that kind of like show, like television description or like show description or movie description thing that you'd see on like a Netflix or a streaming platform.
5-star rated.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, because everybody seems to enjoy the show after they've watched it. That's the problem.
Every single person.
Yeah. Well, almost every single person. We'll get to that in the story. And then we get a still frame from one of the episodes where we get SCP-2031 revealed. And I get it. Like it gives us a proper like look at Laughing McLafferson, complete with his head never being shown on camera. Just his suit and his shoes, which are described. So really, these images are I really enjoy these images because they help kind of accentuate what's already written.
Yeah,
like they don't need to be there, but they are. It's nice to have them there for.
Oh yeah, it helps a ton. And like the second one is a picture of a real ass man, so that helps with the immersion factor as well.
Yeah, and it's clearly that like, he's coming out of like his hiding spot in the episode.
Yes.
So like again, it shows like his actions as well in the show. Yeah, no, I just like I really enjoy the way the images were comped and stuff in this. And then we move on to my next thing here. Unless you guys have anything more about the image or the images.
I have nothing to say about the images.
Shower curtain's fun.
Okay, I wanted to make sure there's nothing else before I like moved ahead like into like non-image thing. So
I know.
okay. I'll move on to the next thing then. The medium through which SCP-2030 manifests changes depending on the most popular format currently in use. As of 2014, SCP-2030 most commonly inserts itself into automated DVD rental kiosks, file sharing websites, and paid on-demand video streaming services. Prior to 2012, SCP-2030 commonly manifested as a DVD set in video rental stores and as VHS tapes prior to 2003. So, yeah, apparently 2024's SCP-Cember is just going to be rife for me with game fodder that may or one day end up on our sister podcast, One Less Die. Specifically on a certain 6-world campaign we're currently running of Shadowrun. Sorry, Mikey. Because seriously, like, I don't know if this would be like a free spirit or some sprite like Ghost in the Matrix. I'm kind of going more into the.
It has a physical form.
Yeah, I'm going more into like the blood into like a blood spirit, like a free spirit kind of creature that manifests and just uses like media.
It could just be a freaking evil mage. It's a physical dude that comes out of things, you know?
Well, yeah, well that's also true, but it could also be like a spirit because spirits can like manifest and materialize into a physical and have like almost a physical form. In Shadowrun. And of course, like we could have it like again, like this is like something that's popping up on the Matrix, or popping up on people's Tridio streams because that's the new like medium in Shadowrun is by the 2070s. People experience things through like Oh god, it could be BTLs, like better than life SimSense, like simulations. Oh fuck.
Which might kind of explain why like they quote unquote survive it because it's like all in their head, I guess.
Yeah, maybe again that's where like I go into like the sprite like Ghost in the Machine, like it's a free sprite, like some kind of or a rogue AI in the Matrix that's generating these BTLs. Which for anybody who's not in the know, Mikey, BTLs or better than life SimSense, they're basically like a cyber drug in a way. Like they are simulations that people like jack into and like kind of like a VR that people like kind of like plug themselves into and experience. And like they're simulations that have like their limiters taken off. So they are so you experience like your senses experience things that are better than life, and like it gives you a high or like gives you like a euphoric feeling by experiencing these things, and they become quite addictive to the point where you become a chip head, where like you are basically like you keep retreating into BTLs or into like the Matrix to experience these virtual realities and try and stay away from real life because real life is dull compared to these simulations. So yeah, I could see that definitely being used for that in this. And outside of the 6 world of Shadowrun, I could actually see this being used in other game systems and scenarios as well. Like you're trying to hunt down a phantom show in like a Monster of the Week game or like a Esoterrorist or something like that. Heck, this could just be the next flavor of the King in Yellow's play for a Delta Green or Call of Cthulhu shotgun scenario or campaign. Like this could be like a one shot or even like a campaign where you're trying to track down this new updated version of the King in Yellow play, which has just turned itself into a fucking prank show. It's basically just like what's that show? It's because this show is basically like Punked from hell. So, and yeah, and then we have
it's kind of like it's not clarify whether or not the people that are being punked like actually have any like long-term effects from the show, or if everything just gets reversed, but they die from other means.
Oh God. Okay. So yeah, actually, you just reminded me something. So yeah, they die. So the victims either go missing, like are either people that have gone missing or die the year of the episode playing. So what if they're actually not even like their deaths or their going missing has nothing to do with the show itself, but their spirits are getting pulled into this viral show that's like being orchestrated by a free spirit or something. Like the free spirit's actually more of like kind of like a rogue reaper. And they're actually creating the show and using the souls of the recently dead as their hosts.
Yeah.
And if you want to make it like so that it's like actually kind of like malicious, maybe like people who watch the show get marked like by a curse that ends up killing them that year, and then they get pulled into the next season. Because there is that kind of thing at the near the end of the like during like through the entry, we kind of find out that like that's kind of a vector for this, is that people are the people who the people who are on the show seem to have a familiarity with the show, like they've watched the show, so perhaps that's how they get marked. Like they watch the show on like a streaming thing or like on eBombs World or YouTube. Remember eBombs World, guys? But yeah, like watch videos and stuff like that online and see like clips of the show, and that's how you get marked. So
And then they could just show up at any time and just punk your real life.
yeah, exactly.
Then you may or may not survive from that, but then you potentially die later on through like the it's a type of magic that's like it's like basically it seems like real because it sort of happens.
Idiosyncratic magic.
Yeah.
From the Trail of Cthulhu RPG, and like it's like unknown armies. Actually, unknown armies would probably work in this fit as well, like as a as like for this to be a scenario in unknown armies, because like that's again a very modern, like postmodern magic or like supernatural like bullshit. So yeah. And yeah, even like the last line in the containment procedures would be enough for a jumping off point for a seed idea for a game. Like finding and isolating SCP-2030's point of origin is considered a Delta level priority efforts or priority. Sorry, a Delta
priority.
Yeah, a Delta level priority. Efforts to locate the studio where SCP-2030 is filmed are ongoing. I like that. First
Wait,
off,
it's not filmed in a studio.
Well, no, some parts are well, it has to come from somewhere. Like so, like the SCP Foundation is speculating that there's some kind of a studio where like the film is actually like edited and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, it's not filmed there specifically, but yeah.
Although unless it is you guys, so that could be like in the game I would like construct around this premise. Like you guys are hunting down the studio, you guys got a tip that you found the studio, you end up there and you get into a Carcosa situation where like each set in the studio is like it looks like it is almost identical to real life. So it's like almost like a copy of a real location in the world, but it's not, but it's like trapped inside this like little like pocket bubble. Or this pocket dimension inside the studio. And that's how like they film each episode. Like they're actually not filming out in the world. They're creating a simulacrum of somewhere in the world and trapping these poor souls to do this prank episode. I have a lot of ideas now. Thanks.
One of these days I'll learn to keep my mouth shut.
Never. And don't act like you hate this.
I can act as much as I want.
But yeah, I guess I'll move on to the next thing I have here. The series title typically appears as Laugh is Fun, although variations on the name, such as Laugh is Life and Laugh is Laugh, are not uncommon. And I have another one, Laugh is Love, just to complete the cycle. Because like as soon as I heard like Laugh is Life and like Laugh is like, and then it said like Laugh is Laugh, and I was like, I literally thought it was gonna read Laugh is Love, because like it's like that Shrek is Life, Shrek is Love.
What you can do is that's just Laugh.
That's just life. That's just life. Yeah.
Yeah, now we know who the host is.
God,
Too, so
oh no.
that's why he doesn't show his face.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me.
Mhm.
I mean, we again based off Mikey's conjunction junction with his the way he says things.
Yes.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. The series has no corresponding box art. It mimics art from other TV shows, often causing viewers to select it, mistaking it for another program. So at first I took this like as I believed it's intended, where it's like it mimics the art, like cover the art of the covers exactly. But then I thought, like with my like kind of my graphic designer brain and like stuff like that, it's like you could have a lot of fun doing like mock-ups for this SCP of like box art for shows as like from other shows, but mimicking the art style of the covers rather than like completely like just like using like using a pre-existing thing exactly as it is, but like have stuff on it that is like kind of off, and then like the title art always being like the same style as the title art for like these other TV shows, but it's always like laugh is love, but in that art style. So like punked, but laugh is love, or it's like laugh, and then in smaller like things right under it is life. But like for like punked, or like again the very other things like you could find like One Tree Hill, like the One Tree Hill title art, but it's laugh is love, laugh is life, or laugh is fun. I don't know. I like this, that the idea of that, like just like reading that bit about like the box art mimicry. It really tickled my graphic designer brain of wanting to do up these kind of like mocks, these mock box art of this show, but in different TV show styles.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like it's good that there's some art there, but that would like push it even further, I think.
Yeah, just imagine like here's a photo of our collection like that's currently in like site redacted, and it just shows like a DVD rack of like movie of shows that all say laugh is fun or like laugh is life or laugh is laugh, but like they're all in different like TV show DVD box set like styles. But yeah. And then the next thing here, due to the way in which scenes are filmed, SCP-2030-1 is only seen from the neck down, making identification difficult. It refers to itself as Laffy McLafferson. I kind of like that we never get to see Laffy's face, but we still have a good description of him and his mannerism in the entry. Like we get to know a little bit. We get a good description of his character without having to even like have identification of his face, and it makes sense that we wouldn't get to see his face because he's basically like a slender, like he's Splendor Man.
A little bit.
I've unlocked. We cracked it. we know what creepypasta he's actually Laffy McLafferson is. He's either Splendor Man or he's Splendor Man's cousin.
As soon as like it was a dude in a suit that you never saw his face, like I was like immediately getting Slender Man vibes.
Yeah,
but he's probably just a dude. I don't know.
I have seen some fan art like when I was like looking up this entry, and it seems like a lot of people just have the general consensus that he's just this like creepy like no face like head with like maybe like a creepy like smiling mouth. Like that's about it.
I guess he has to laugh.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then my next thing here. Additionally, most recorded individuals seem to express some degree of familiarity with SCP-2030-1, with some claiming to be fans of the show. Research into whether SCP-2030 uses its viewership. Okay, I kind of covered this, honestly. Like it basically like research is going into like whether or not SCP like targets victims who have watched the show as like its pool of victims. And like I do find that very interesting. Like it's either like mental influence kind of situation, like Vince Aspenson from our previous SCP-Cember episode.
Yes.
Where like he's controlling the person like when he shows up on the show, or like it's sort of again like a vector, like he's targeting like people who watch the show are targeted specifically. Also, the fact that victims and audience members on the show are later revealed to be people who died and went missing the year they appeared on the program is also just a really cool, creepy detail. And we kind of covered it earlier, but like I still like just like that idea of like, yeah, like even the studio audience that they will sometimes like, oh, that's why there's a studio, because like occasionally the show will the show will like the camera will actually like pan behind it to show a studio audience, revealing that location was actually on a stage. So that's straight up like King in Yellow bullshit, or like some kind of like meta textual or meta concept of like.
Wow, I just realized that, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's all just people going about their daily lives, and then I'm punked, but there's a live studio audience there.
Yeah, so it's just like, oops, you're in another reality, or oops, your reality is no longer what you thought it was.
Wow.
So yeah, I like that.
Extra
actually.
weird now.
And that actually adds on to the idea of like discovering the studio in a game or something like that, and finding these different stages that are like suddenly become real life, like they suddenly become your neighborhood, and then you get punked because you're on the show. Then we have this next thing here, created in partnership with YWTGTHFT, are superimposed over the footage in white text. I actually didn't check to see what that was, or if I find what YWTGTHFT stands for. I probably should have, but it is in the entry for 2030 here. It is a link to SCP-1459, which I will add to our list of SCPs to cover at some point down the road.
That's the one I shared you the image of.
Yeah. I didn't check it out fully because like that's a whole other episode. But yeah, there is a dog, like a little puppy, episode, like in the episode. So it's like I'm a little disturbed by that.
It's like this is an instance of SCP. It's like, what?
Huh?
It's just a puppy though.
Oh no! What happens to the puppy?
You don't want to know.
Oh, we're gonna find out, unfortunately. But I guess you looked a little bit deeper down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, actually, while I am here and this part, I do want to bring up something that's on the page here for SCP-2030. Looking it up, looking at both SCPs, they are by PeppersGhost. And at the top there is a little content warning info, like letter I, at the top of each entry. And if you click on that specifically for SCP-2030, you can click it and expand to give you like all the horrible like triggers and like trigger warning stuff that's brought up, which again, cool little safety tool. Yeah, very nice safety tool. But furthermore, for 2030, it also links to PepperGhost's other SCP contributions to like this really nice little index of all of their entries, which is quite graphically pleasing. I must say, like it's like a really nice like design, like setup of like all like layout of all their entries with like preview like images and stuff like that.
How do we get there?
I just wanted to spotlight it because it's like it's honestly like really fun. Like I really enjoyed like seeing that.
Oh, that is nice. Look at that.
Yeah, it's got like they're all like highest rated, like newest, like works by PepperGhosts, and like it's all the different entries with like image, like with specific images to show like what it is, and like also like the titles, and then some all the images, most of the images and the art is credited to an artist.
Oh, nice.
That's so fucking good. Yeah. So like I really wanted to spotlight this because like this is a really cool way of like previewing your stuff. Your contributions on the SCP website. I also do kind of like the little the header at the top is like, shh, they're sleeping. I don't know if that's actually supposed to be there or if that's like just something that like popped up, but yeah, no, it's a nice little, again, like I'm always sort of like caught off guard in a pleasant way by like how well the graphically like pleasing SCP Foundation like websites and layouts can be. Like it's one part writing community and like another part graphic designer, like community. But I digress. I'll move on to my next thing here. This comes from the addendums. The following are examples of pranks featured on the programs. So a few things from the addendums. I don't have anything specific to like any of them, like any one of them. They're all like pretty interesting and fun to read in their own horrific way. But I do want to just highlight a few things generalized about them. I love how they mix absurdist humor with horrific body horror. I guess this is just I guess it would just be called absurdist horror. Because like some of them are just like really just absurd, like almost dream logic, kind of like horrific, like like it's like something that would like happen in a dream, and then that dream would turn into a nightmare.
Yeah, but then you wake up and laugh it off.
Exactly,
which is basically what happens in this.
Yeah, exactly. So it all kind of feels like a dream, but it's like actually happening to these people on video that people can actually watch. So it's almost like we're getting a glimpse into people's nightmares right before they die, I guess. That's another idea actually that could be, is like we're actually these videos are marking people for death, and the episodes are actually just capturing their last like dream / nightmare before they pass on. And they pass on in a mundane way, but they are marked for death, and like then the show basically captures their last like dream / nightmare as this like TV show. Just by the episode descriptions, yeah, this is like punked from hell. Like it's very much like one of those prank shows from like the early mid 2000s. That were like popping up. I think they still do them. Like they still have like shows like this where they like prank people with like a hidden camera. I could definitely see this.
They probably do that a little bit in Jackass as well.
Yeah, a little bit like a Jackass as well. Yeah, I think Jackass was probably one of the like pioneers of that.
They just hurt themselves though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple like skits where like one guy's like chasing a little man, and then like around a corner, and then like he's then suddenly caught running down the street again, and like to the views of the random people walking by, being chased down by like a mob of little people. So, but yeah, I could see this. Yeah, very much like a King in Yellow kind of thing. Maybe utilizing other mythos entities, like just from the descriptions of some of the stuff that happens in these episodes. Some of them are very much like reminding me of like Shoggoths or like Shoggoth lords, like these shape-shifting biomasses that like that change into things and like even like mutate the person that's like the victim of the show in some horrific way. Like that's the kind of thing that like a Shoggoth could probably do, or like some kind of proto-matter creature could do in the Cthulhu mythos. So again, it gives you a lot of fodder for like Cthulhu games, or like horrible like what their abilities are, and kind of gives you a rough like direction of where to go with like what the mythos entity is in it. Now my one complaint about the addendum, I don't like how the addendum episodes aren't in a true order, like newest to oldest episodes or something like that, because like they start off in an order, and then they get mixed in a little bit. So like they're not properly.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it's just like, yeah, like they're not like they're not fully chronologically ordered. Like it's like 2000, 1997, 1989, 1989. That's fine. 2013. It's like, I just kind of wish that 2013 had been like up at the top.
That might be just a little bit OCD kicking in.
Maybe,
for you.
yeah.
What might be happening here is like, this is the order that they found these episodes in.
Mm-hmm.
So season 24 swelling is 2030 dash A, and then season 21 Margaret Thatcher is 2030 dash B, because like that's the instance that they got it.
Yeah, then I kind of want that to be mentioned.
Yes. Also, the episode names, like I'm glad that there's a theme, and I like that there's a season and a year, but there's no episode number.
Well,
it bugs the hell out of me.
I do think, I'm not sure, but I caught it as well, but like it doesn't bug me as much, because like a lot of these shows tended to just have like an episode like theme, and that was they didn't have an episode number. So
but they had a release order. But
Yeah, I
again,
guess,
they
yeah.
wouldn't necessarily
Yeah.
know the release order because all they're knowing is like they're not watching this stuff on TV.
Yeah.
They don't have a TV guide that says the whole list. Actually, with the streaming services, it might actually be laid out in like a seasonal list with episodes and everything.
Mhm.
It boils down to whether or not there's like information on the recording. Like, for instance, I know that Futurama, a cartoon, in the end credits, it tells you what the production thing is, whether like season
Yeah, the production
4,
code.
episode 10 or whatever. Like it's the production, but that's not necessarily when they aired, it's when they produced it.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. So like something like that could tell you when the season is if was credits.
Yeah, and the show sometimes has credits, and sometimes it just like cuts to black, as we discovered. So
yeah.
Either way, a little bit of organization would be nice. Not
Yeah.
necessarily year based, because personally, I think the cooler way is the order that they found them.
and
But
and
just
if that
have them listed A, B, C, D.
yeah, and if they have that mentioned, like these are it's in order of when these were discovered, I would have no problem.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the story that's in this that's linked to this entry. Why is the link to this story in the end of the description of an episode themed with printers, which doesn't have anything to do with funerals?
Yeah.
I just feel like I have no problem with that episode, like that entry being at the bottom of this or that episode description being at the bottom of this entry. I just kind of wish there was another one underneath it or like another addendum that was underneath it or something that like reference like, oh, we've actually discovered. It just feels like there should have been another addendum that like referenced like the events of the story, like maybe like we found a survivor or something like that, and like this is what we were able to get from them about one of these prankings.
Yeah, or have it like the short form of what the episode is about, like with the standard addendums, but then have a link saying, like on the scene description, just saying we have a full. Actually, why would they specifically only have a full one of this? Because they have all these episodes. So
that's what I'm thinking. Like the addendum would actually be an update at the bottom, whereas like we've actually been able to retrieve a survivor, though they passed away shortly after due to complications from the episode, and this was their experience, and then we get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's just like my jumping into this funeral is fun. So the story is called "Funerals Are Fun." That's the story title, and so this is what the rest of my notes are going to be about, like quotes from the story itself that we get. So, my brother Ross died a week ago in a freak accident involving a slow loris. Turns out they're related to monkeys and poisonous. I actually had to look up what a slow loris was.
Me too, especially since like the first three sentences, every single sentence mentions slow loris. So I kept saying, it's like I have to know what this is because they keep talking about it.
Also there's a part that's right after it's like I didn't even know slow lorises were native to Boston, and I was like, I that was like my cue was like, oh, this is gonna we're starting to get into some like horrifically silliness because it's like it's gonna be silly, but it's also gonna be horrific. Speaking of this quote here, in the middle of Uncle Earl's turn to bleed, that growth ruptured, spraying Earl and me and Father O'Reilly and Johnny in a real pale concoction that was like half blood, half pus. Did you know that the spleen is the home of up to half of all the lymphocytes in the body? I didn't. Still don't. Not sure why I said that. Anyway, Ross's spleen ruptured and sprayed us all. And I was like, this is why the story has the tag at the bottom, black comedy, because this is just going to be silly and horrific at the same time. Just absurdist horror and absurdist humor together. Because honestly, as soon as I got to this part where it's like, did you know blah, blah, blah? It's like, I didn't. I still don't. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, I honestly, it reminded me of like a lost episode or like a twisted version of The Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen and his like deadpan performance of like how he says like comedic shit. And so the rest of the story was in my head was being read by Leslie Nielsen's deadpan like version from like as if he was like his character from The Naked Gun. And then my last thing here actually for the story. Well, Cousin Johnny wasn't laughing. He was just perplexed. He always did have a weird sense of humor, Johnny. He just emitted a loud chittering and left the stage/church. So first off, I think it should be like he always did have a weird sense of humor, that Johnny. Because like I think that's how it was, like how he was going for that, or in that story, in that thing. That's just a little grammar inquisition that I just caught now, like rereading it.
He talks because of all dialogue.
Yeah, I know. That makes sense. Yeah, it's the way the character writes or speaks, or yeah. But yeah, as soon as I read this, where well, Johnny wasn't laughing, he was just perplexed. He always did have a weird sense of humor. I was like, uh-oh, like, oh no, Johnny isn't affected. He's totally fucked by it's like something bad's about to happen to Johnny because he's not laughing like everybody else. and yet it didn't happen, and he was actually able to escape. So this actually, like the way like he just leaves the church, so presumably escapes the situation. I kind of think this would be a good jumping off point for a sequel story involving the guy that got away.
Johnny is also potentially some weird freaking like insectoid creature. I don't know.
I did notice that Cousin Johnny is also a tag on this SCP. And when I click that tag, it takes me to a bunch of other stories and tales that other people have written of Cousin Johnny. So it is likely that he is another, like, a recurring character in the SCP lore. I don't know if necessarily it's related to if he's. It seems like he's being used by other authors as well. So and it might be the same character, but yeah. So, but it is interesting to have like a character that isn't affected by the laughter and the calmness of Laughing McLafferson.
He's basically like another SCP.
Yeah, he's another Joey Fucknuts.
Nope.
Which again, if he is anything like Joey Fucknuts, I'm on board to read more stories about my cousin Johnny. And now I want to make a mock-up of like my cousin Vinny, like the cover of the box art for my cousin Vinny, but like my cousin Johnny, and just like dealing with like him just walking around, like walking or something like that, and then like horrible like things behind him, like eldritch horrors, like encircling him. Anyway, moving on to the next thing in my comments here. But yeah, I also like the idea that like even if like my cousin Johnny, like he's an outlier because he's another SCP or something like that. I do like the idea that like that's sort of like the crux or like the weakness or the I don't know what's the word for like I get for something like what's the word for something that makes you immune to a supernatural thing. Yeah, I guess just the immunity to the influence that this SCP has over people when they're getting pranked is that you have to have a weird sense of humor, like you have to have an outlying aberrant personality that makes you immune to the influence. Like the general populace will be affected because they're all sheeple or they all have like the same kind of like general like pop culture zeitgeist sense of humor. And so like that's what the SCP targets when it shows up and like, hey, we're part of the you've been punked, but here's the hidden camera. And so like that's why like everybody stops being horrific or horrified and starts laughing. But it'd be really interesting to have like that outlier person is like actually not be affected by that and see through the veil, like see through the glamour of this horrible creature. And it's
simply
like, no,
because they have a bad sense of humor.
Yeah, either a bad sense of humor or again like they just have like their like hell neurodivergent like that just because of that like that affects like that actually like gives them a one up against the supernatural baddie here that's like affecting like a mass affecting not wrong
Game.
As soon as I said that as soon as I said that immediately the like affecting the masses with this like jovial appearance rather than like, you know, you don't be horrified. Like, this is all a prank show. It's like, no, this isn't a prank show. This is supernatural. It's like, what did you say? And then that's the scenario. Actually, that could actually be the jumping off point for a scenario. Throw you in media res. You are the player characters are the ones that aren't affected by the field of influence. And
yeah, because all this weird shit's going on around them.
Yeah. And now they're being hunted by it because, like, it's you stared into the abyss, and the abyss has now stared at you, and it wants you. It finds you irritating, and wants you off the show. Like, it's so.
It's like it's like you. Every time I make a pun, you're irritated and want me off the show.
God damn it. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I've got for my actual thoughts for the SCP entry and the story. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right. Well, I have a grammar inquisition for the story. And a conjunction junction for the story.
Oh ho! Ho,
So-
ho, ho. You all get coal this year. The coal is conjunction junction.
Wow.
All right, so the grammar inquisition, like I remember when he and we and they and he all went to the shivering place, and there was just too much marshmallow. I know it's dialogue, but that's way too many ands.
Okay, but it is
And that's
dialogue,
already speaking
so-
strange, though. Like, that's just the
Yeah.
way. I hate that I keep saying it, but it's literally the
It
way
works.
the character talks.
Yeah, the creature also. Yeah, it's being said by something that it may not even be human. So it's like kind of says it's going to say things wrong, or it's going to say things in a very strange way. So you got to give that a pass.
Mhm.
Yeah, I suppose. Anyway, here's the conjunction junction.
Okay.
It was that guy from all the shows. And remember, laugh is fun. Finn.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, it was the guy for all those shows. And
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. Fair enough.
We didn't have to work hard for those for your conjunctions this week. Hey?
We often he often doesn't for SCPs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my actual thoughts. So we've already mentioned punked.
Yeah.
But when I was reading this, it seems like it's if an alien watched like Monty Python, punked, and then the movie Alien and thought Alien was a comedy.
Yeah. I like that analogy. It's like it's like if Punked, Monty Python, and Alien had a baby.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking of the one Monty Python sketch where the guy's in the fat suit and he eats a lot of food and is like, oh, I can't eat anymore. He's like, well, what about this wafer thin mint? And he's like, oh no, couldn't possibly. But then he eats it and then explodes.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And then
That
And
plus
then everyone-
gore equals this.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then of course the movie Alien with chest bursters, like
Oh, yeah. and then like mix that with like combine the alien scene with the scene from Spaceballs, but like make it more horrific. It's like hello my baby, hello my honey, and then like just runs away and it's like, and then like Laughing McLafferson comes out the kitchen door and it's like, well that was like you all been punked. Here's our hidden episode. Here's our hidden cameras. Kind of thing, yeah. Like, yeah, it's very much like, what if an anomaly or an alien entity saw like reality TV and decided I could do that? Not getting you. It's very much that cosmic horror idea that we keep coming to, like where it's like they don't understand, and that's the horror. Like they don't quite get it, but they want to like interact with us in some way.
At least.
Yeah.
Also, when there,
So-
one thing I do, sorry, you did kind of bring this up and reminded me. There is the episode where there's a squirrel theme, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm here for it." When does the squirrel come at him at full force? And they kind of do. They burst out of that man's skin in full force.
Damn right. A whole horde of them.
Yeah.
Wait, what is a group of squirrels called?
Hang on.
We must do this. You didn't know what a gaggle of squirrels is called.
A scurry or a dray. A scurry is a group of unrelated squirrels. A dray is a family of squirrels, including the mother and her young. The term dray also comes from the alternate spelling of the word dray. So like dray, as in like D-R-A-Y or D-R-E-Y, which is the name of the squirrel's nest. Interesting. But yeah, a scurry.
It could be related, though. It could be a dray.
Yeah, that could be. Now,
you could also refer to it as a nest of squirrels, then.
Dr. Dre as just like a body, just a skin suit like populated by squirrels, by a dray of squirrels.
I love that.
I need to draw that horrific image.
I absolutely adore that.
Dr. Dre is just a skin suit populated by a dray of squirrels. That is so amazing and horrible.
He's actually a doctor. He's a PhD.
Yeah. The squirrels have a PhD. The mother, of the mother squirrel has a PhD.
Yeah, of course.
Kicking your ass. Oh my god! Sorry, that threw me off. Like, oh man, like that's not even a tangent. That's just gold.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
You're learning to play with your words and having fun with them.
All right, sorry, Mikey. I've back on the rails.
Yeah, it's the end of my actual thoughts.
Every time, I swear to God, like I don't mean to do it. Like I just feel like every time I interrupt you, and then we get back on course, you're just like, and that's it. I'll say it. It's like it always feels like to me like I've just stolen your thunder. Like I don't want to talk anymore.
No, I always say this because he always brings up
just
interesting shit that we have a discussion about.
Oh, I know. It just feels like every time I interject, it's like right at the end of his talking points. All right, Gamer. I guess you're up next then.
I suppose. Let's see. I already talked about the format. In regards to the squirrel episode, actually.
All right, good segue.
Yep. I feel like it shows its hand a little too early. Like, with the way it's worded, I absolutely knew that was not her husband in the bed. Yeah, like Mrs. England lies in bed next to a male figure, presumably Mr. England. It's like, yeah. I kind of wish it just said lays in bed next to her husband, and then blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden, squirrels burst out of the husband. It is technically her husband, or at least his skin. Yeah. It could have been like next to her husband, like not. Yeah. So yeah. It's such a funny ending too, where the husband comes in completely skinned and basically gives a thumbs up, but also like, but doesn't have any like discomfort at all. Because again, like it's horrifically absurd. It's absurd horror. Like, it's something out of like a Freddy movie, like a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of like dream sequence like thing, where like, or like, and I'm sure there's other like kind of absurdist horror thing that are like this, where just like, or it's like a Beetlejuice gag. Like it's something that Beetlejuice would do, where just like have a skinless character. Yes. But yeah. And my last note is basically just, I found it kind of weird that with most of the prank show descriptions, the victims hang out for a long time during the horror. Like the squirrel one was good; it was quick because it's like squirrels, and then haha, got you. But like some of the other ones are like they hang out. The one that's most inexcusable is the cephalopods one, where like the operating staff is just hanging out in the operating room while 4 octopus creatures crawled out and then proceeded to like get sing, all in a line and then sing together while they're all just hanging out. Yeah, it's that one's I think the most like absurd. Now I do wonder, because again this is like SCPs are generally a writing community like that you can contribute and stuff to. So I wonder if some of these episodes are contributed by other authors, not just the main author of this series, PeppersGhost. Possibly. So like I wonder if this one in particular is like somebody else's compared to the other, because it is sort of an outlier in that how long it is. I don't care about how long the duration is. I just hate how like the quote unquote victims of it,
Mhm.
they just stay there. They don't try running away. It doesn't even describe them at all. Like they're not like frozen with fear or anything like that. Like they don't like try to grab an implement to fight them. They don't try to leave, but the doors are barred. Nothing. It's just the surgeons are there. The weird shit starts, and then the surgeon NPCs freeze while the creepy stuff happens. Basically.
Yeah, they are sort of ignored until like the end of this. Like they're there during the operation, then the thing happens for like a while, and then oh yeah, the surgeons are still there.
They're like an afterthought. Meanwhile, they are the target. They should have like as much focus as the creepy shit, because the whole point of the show is to punk these people and see their reactions, but we don't see their reactions at all.
Yeah. So that one also has like the most like the Margaret Thatcher one had like a theme of like the person. This one is like cephalopods. Okay, and then it's just like the bodies of octopuses and the heads of like these celebrities like Ryan Seacrest, Johnny Cash, Jack Nicholson, and Martin Freeman, who I definitely misread as Morgan Freeman a couple of times.
Me too.
It's so like easy too because like Martin Freeman. But yeah, it's just like they just all burst out of this woman's uterus during a C-section.
No, it's a C-section.
That's so out of the uterus.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of the other word.
Gotcha. But yeah, and then like also I feel really bad for Rebecca Nash because like she's like again like forced to like laugh at all this stuff, and then she just passes out and dies probably from blood loss at the end.
Straight up says from blood loss. Yeah.
And actually hers is the most honestly like again this is what I mean, like this one feels like kind of like almost like an outlier compared to the other ones because like Rebecca Nash surgeons unidentified. Okay, so I was also wondering like why it said surgeons unidentified. Now I realize it's because the surgeons that were in the operating table or on the operating in the operating room. But it says her death was died by complications at child delivery. Hospital records show no evidence of anomalous activity or during the birth. However, her death is still actually technically connected to the show.
Directly happened on the show.
Yeah.
Unless it happened after
they just
it. Like after they cut the feed, like she eventually died just through the shit that happened, but yeah.
Yeah, and then they just downplayed the anomalyness when they did the report.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me like that one it does feel like kind of an outlier. Also again because it's also like a late like it's a newer one. It's 2013 versus like the last one was 1989. And yeah, so I do have to wonder if that one's like a newer addition to the entry. But now I just got that stuck in my head now of that speculation. But sorry, gamer, it was your turn. Sorry.
I'm done.
Really?
You
got nothing for the funerals are fun? I'm sorry.
No, it's literally the last one. Now. No, it was actually the last one. It's just kind of funny that it happened the same as it did with Mikey, but it's fine.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about funerals are fun?
I mean, it was disgusting, and I hated that after I finished reading that, I got up and grabbed my dinner.
Yeah, that would have sucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a gross episode or gross session or gross SCP. But yeah, okay. If that's all that is to be said,
and some of them actually, just because like we didn't really talk about every specific one. Yeah. The one that had like the tracheotomy one. As soon as I read tracheotomy, I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be disgusting. And then it was like the silliest out of all of them.
It really was.
Because it's like a freaking.
It starts off
a cartoon.
Yeah, because it starts off like he's choking, grasping for air, and then like his neck just like splits open, but then out from that split comes like another head of him, or another one of his heads, and then like a copy of his head, and then like 17 more heads pop out after that.
That's another one that I wish we knew what happened to the family. Like, were they all just sitting there witnessing this, or were they all trying to run away during this weird shit that's happening?
I have a feeling it was more just like they were just stunned into like they went freeze in the fight, flight, or freeze mode.
I guess.
Because like that, honestly, like seeing that, like, I mean that is definitely a valid response. It's just because like what the like your whole reality is just like shifting and changing so drastically at that point. It's like, how would you react if not to flee or freeze?
Yeah, but it's also more than just one person sitting there, right?
Yeah, but like they all
The odds that
froze.
everyone freezes.
It's just as possible of the if they all ran. Like it's
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
Or
enough.
like or like even if like the mother like had gotten like tried to like help and then like saw that like I again you go to help because like, oh no, they're choking, and then like their neck splits open and like heads start popping up that are clones of the person's head, and you just like, what? Yeah. I do get like why are like didn't one of them run, like that was an option that they could have written in, but they decided to go with like just they all froze probably in place.
Yeah, but that again goes back to my previous note where like all these addendums
Mhm.
that are describing the shows, it's so focused on the horror that it's not showing the reaction to the horror, which is the whole point of the show is look at the reaction to the horror. And then what we get is look at the horror.
Well, here's the other thing, like these addendum, like these descriptions aren't actually like show description by the show. It's a show description by the SCP Foundation. So they're focusing on the horror of the situation.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Again, don't get me wrong. I do think it would be it would be interesting to have a little bit more additional added to like the reactions of the victims there. But I think the Foundation is probably just focusing more on the horror angle of like of the inciting incident rather than reactions.
But wouldn't they also want to catalog basically the like if all of the victims react the same way?
Mhm.
Because like
that would be something
if
that
in
would...
all of these the victims scream but don't move, then that is something that this creature does to its victims. Like that's a pattern.
Yeah, no, that is also valid. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you on this. Like it definitely be something that could be like added later, maybe like to kind of add to help elevate the some of these descriptions a little bit more.
Like with most SCPs, they always prefer it when there's more research being done instead of just shit's bad, and that's it. And we're containing it, but not trying to stop it.
Yeah. No,
but that's all I got for notes.
Okay. Then I suppose we'll move on to final thoughts. So, wow, yeah, this one was a bit of a roller coaster. It certainly earns its absurdist tag at the bottom. Because, yeah, I definitely classify this as absurdist horror. Like, absurdist humor, weird horror together.
Yes.
Or body horror together. Yeah, I will say this is a partial recommendation for me still. I enjoyed it for its morbid silliness and its seemingly mythos undertones. Like I can't not get King in Yellow shenanigans out of my head with this. At least just like personally, I can't. I'm sure like maybe that wasn't what was intended, but like because it's an SCP anomaly, so like not everything's Cthulhu based or King in Yellow inspired or something like that. But just for me personally, I could see those kind of undertones, or at least that's how I would draw inspiration for if I was to pull this into a gameable material. Were I tossing it into like a Cthulhu scenario. But yeah, aside from like enjoying it, like I did enjoy all the read and stuff of that. I do acknowledge that there is room for improvement. Like both with the format and also like we were kind of just bringing up, like there's room to like add some extra things in the descriptions and such, just to accentuate what's already there. But otherwise, again, like the format, like a few, aside from a few hiccups, like the format itself is fine, and the story came with it is is great. If just darkly humorous and like
Placed.
the fuck. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with the format. Like just like maybe move that link somewhere where it doesn't belong, or like somewhere where it belongs. But otherwise, partial recommendation. Maybe my conditional would have been like, if somebody's not great with body horror, don't show them this. don't recommend this. But like, if you're not squeegee, if you're not like if you don't get squigged out too bad by like this kind of stuff, like descriptions of these kind of things, yeah, I'd recommend it. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
Well, so part of the issue is that even though we get different themes for the episodes, a lot of them devolve into something bursting out of someone.
Yeah.
Like you think there's variety, but it's like, oh no, we have squirrels today and pigeons tomorrow and weird tentacles in the story. And with the spleens exploding, it's like to me it was more gross than anything, and like the fact that these people are quote unquote dead or gone missing before or around the time that this quote unquote aired, is kind of interesting, but then it basically like, well, why are you kicking them? They're already dead.
Well, I get that. I do think like it's also possibly it's the entry is possibly like hinting that like they've gone missing or they've died because of this SCP, and then like that stuff and their recorded death means of death. Yeah, they're recorded. What did you just say? Sorry, gamer. What?
The cover-up death.
The cover-up death is that they died of like a mundane reason. But like I do like it could go either way. Like they were dead already, and like, why are you beating a dead horse or why are you beating a dead person? But then that's again it's just the entity like stealing the soul of that person and like rendering them into this show. Or they are victims of the show, and then their deaths are just being covered up. Or their disappearance is being covered up. Like they just go missing because the show has caught them, kind of thing. So.
Yeah,
but yeah, I also don't disagree with like your kind of your recommendation here, because like it definitely plays on like visceral horror as well, and that's always going to be kind of a mixed bag for certain people.
Yeah.
Like not everybody likes like goopy, gory, like gross stuff. So
yeah, and wasn't there a point where they exhumed a body or a coffin or whatever, but it was empty?
Yeah. I think it was. Give me a second. Just gonna peruse through here. Where was that? That was in the entry, right? Not the story?
I think that's what it was.
I do. I know. I remember what you were saying there. Or I recall that. Do they use the word exhume?
A few hours later.
Oh, here it is. So this is at the end of the description. The last thing it's like, throughout investigations into the deaths of SCP-2030, participants have revealed a number of inconsistencies and contradictions in matters concerning the circumstances of the deaths. Additionally, exhumation of the individual's remains have revealed that all recorded participants' bodies are currently missing. The general consensus among researchers assigned to SCP-2030 is that victims are likely abducted after their use in the show, with their disappearances covered up when possible. However, no concrete evidence connecting the individual's death with SCP-2030 besides the show's footage has yet to be found. So yeah.
Yeah.
So they are basically like there's just a long line of even the deaths. There's a long line of empty coffins in the ground.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Sorry, are you still on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I found this more gross than creepy.
Okay.
And
It can be creepy.
it can be, but it just when you have so much grossness, it sort of overshadows the creepiness.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, like, again, like the absurdism is, again, the tag's adequate because there's an absurd amount of grossness in this mixed in with
Done
the
for a show, which
Yeah.
means like they're trying to play it up for the TV audience as much as possible.
yeah, it's definitely a shock value kind of thing going on here because of the show. Like it wants to get attention, so it's being very flashy or gory to do that.
Back in regards to you mentioning how like the entity basically only does one thing and it's stale and repetitive. Do you get angry
mostly.
at Human Torch because he only burns things? Because it's the same thing. It's like the entity has one power. It can put weird shit in other people. Like that's what it does.
He is. Oh God, he is the stuffer. Oh, God,
I didn't want stuffing for the holidays.
Oh
No,
God,
it is festive related. Hell
it's
yeah.
also kind of related because like the American Thanksgiving and stuff like that happened, and like there's
Yeah.
that whole controversy with the turkeys by the butterball turkeys that were like people were apparently stuffing them at the factory with their bodies.
Oh.
I'm not fucking joking.
Oh.
That was a thing.
Oh.
Hang on.
Anyway.
Yeah. Butterball accused of turkey abuse. Disturbing footage leaked by PETA of Arkansas facilities sexually abused, kicked, and stomped on butterball turkeys.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how true some of this is, but it did. But it came up right before the holidays by PETA. So like maybe it's just PETA trying to stop that kind of stuff, but like who knows?
Oh yeah, it might just be fake news.
Yeah, it might just be something that they're constructing because it's PETA.
Because they want additional pylons.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am not going to recommend this.
Okay. And gamer.
For me, the read was relatively clean. Like I said, and like all of us said, okay, clean as in it read smoothly. It was very wet and gross.
Yeah, I was gonna say poor choice of word, but also accurate for
Yeah.
what you're. Like, yeah.
For sure. But yeah, aside from like some of the formatting errors that we talked about, there wasn't really too much that bothered me along the way. But the more we talked about, the more that I'm like, you know what, that is kind of annoying. Maybe that should be changed one way or another. So I might downgrade it to a partial just because of formatting reasons, and like it's leaving me wanting to know a lot more that isn't being told.
Yeah.
And like I feel like the Foundation should be doing more to document the effects of this SCP on its victims, because the SCP is basically, or the Foundation is basically saying the SCP causes this effect in the person that died. Yeah. And then we move on to the next one. But it's not talking about any other anomalous things that it's doing, which is several. Like it's downplaying the live studio audience so much that I didn't realize that there's a live studio audience in real life that no one is noticing. But it's so downplayed.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the live studio audience are still people who have gone missing or died in that. Like, Like they had like the Foundation. That's the problem. The Foundation can't like get information from people that are affected by this because they're missing or they're missing dead, and their bodies have even gone missing. So, like, all they can do is like try and search out where this is coming from, and lock it down when it pops up online or in rental locations and such.
I get that, but what I was saying is, it doesn't anywhere say that part of the effects of this SCP is it brings a live studio audience with it everywhere it goes that no one sees, but it's there on the recording. Like there's a weird like pocket dimension shit going on that no one talks about.
Yeah. I think it's just because the SCP Foundation just doesn't have the answers, or they don't have access.
They don't even document it. They don't document that it happens. That's my whole thing.
Also, actually, just realized that in the story, the funerals are fun. When Johnny left the stage / church, which means he left the studio stage that was also the church, which means that the story acknowledges that it's the church was in reality, but then the reality shifted to be a studio stage. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that might also connect sort of with him saying like, "Did you know this fact? I didn't. I still don't."
Yeah.
Like, there's some weird shit going on.
Oh yeah, like this is definitely reality altering, and like what is reality in when dealing with this entity or this anomaly. So
yeah, but it's so downplayed. We had to talk about it for me to realize it.
That's fine. Yeah, exactly. And so there is room to grow or to develop more into this entry or to add more to this entry.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I was conflicted to like give it a full recommendation, because there was stuff that was like I would like some more. I enjoyed what I read, but I would like more.
Yeah, for sure. So overall partial, just because it could use more. And yeah, the Foundation putting more information that they legitimately should have on the page makes more sense, because I'm not asking for them to have information they shouldn't have. Just I want to see the information they do have.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess 2 partial recommendations and 1 non-recommendation for SCP-2030, otherwise known as Laugh is Fun. And that has been it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on... Nope, I don't do that anymore. God damn it. We're all on Twitter. Mikey's at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end, because his name is too damn long. Yeah. And also, he's kind of on there.
Maybe not.
Yeah, kind of.
I don't remember the last time I logged on.
Yeah. Well, I'm there at Review Cultist. And I'm also on Blue Sky at Review Cultist, so you can send me messages there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah!
And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content there. To all our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these SCP entries, these creepypastas, and these stories that you write and post online for people to read and experience, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Claus.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for Elf.
And I'm the Grinch in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well, and happy holidays.